Delighted to now present our next speaker, one and only Mr. Prasenjit Roy, and the CMO of Entity Data Marketing. Prasenjit is a visionary, a proven leader with over 30 years of marketing experience. A NASSCOM champion, has been transforming organizations with various solutions, not just cloud, but in the tech space. Prasenjit and me go back almost 20 plus years in our history of working together on various projects and campaigns. Prasenjit, with a very short description that I can give for you, I think you are the best bet. Take on, and we look forward to hearing from you on the know-how, on the customer experience for the future organizations to thrive on. Over to you, Prasenjit. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I was wondering whether it was meant for me or not. You've been very, very lavish on your place. Thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Do log in and visit the lounge exhibit. Look at the information we've put up at the lobby, and that would keep you engaged and going. There are some contests that we would be announcing very shortly, all about customer experience and more. Over to you, Prasenjit.
Okay. Yes, so we're going to talk about CX, okay, and Rachna has set up this wonderful platform, etc. So why is CX so important in today's? What is the key thing that's making everyone talk about CX to become a buzzword and everything? I think it can be aptly summed up in the next slide, and this is what Gartner says. So Gartner says CX is so critical to business. In the coming years, 81% of business would primarily compete on the basis of enhanced CX. Gartner says that the differentiation between the products and services of different companies, be it multinationals across the globe or global firms, they will come down to a paper-thin margin, and customers would decide on going for a particular product or a service based on the CX. So CX is so critical to business that is going to be the deciding and determining factor. That's why all across everyone is talking about CX and how critical is it for important to business. Let's look at this video.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry for that. Basically, what the video is saying, it's talking about Generation CX. It's not talking about baby boomers or millennials or Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. It is the customers who are omnipresent and omnipotent. It's all across us. Okay, each and every touch point is where its customers are trading across. So we need to be very, very cautious about each and every activity our business does. So if you look at the customer journey, typically earlier it was a funnel shape, okay, where we start off with a need and research, select and a purchase and end there. What has really transformed is moving to a sort of infinite loop, okay, where it's not only ending with purchase, it's going beyond that, and that is what the critical factor is. It's talking about getting absorbed in the system, talking about using the system or using the products and services. It's the BAU that matters, and what is happening in the BAU which will determine the recommendation part. where they are not only advocates, they go beyond advocacy. I'll cover that in details in my slides. So this is the focus area what we need to do, and I have called that out, and Rachna has also sent some communication on that. So our obsession with customers actually should be directed on the customer journey after acquisition and not on the purchase. What we have seen, most of the companies make that fundamental mistake. They're very, very focused and hell-bent on getting the business, getting the customer to buy, and they forget about it. It's like, it's the same Hindi, ghar ka murgi dal barabar. So after the customer is in, they feel the thing is done. But that is the biggest blunder one can do. That is when the customer is in, what you are going to do with the customer, how you are going to repeat business coming from the customer and make the customer advocate, make him into someone who can go out and be a rainmaker. Okay, we will cover that in details as we move along. So the whole thing is very important now. So if the customer behavior is shifting rapidly, as we saw in the video, and let's look at from the business point of view and B2B, okay, because that's the focus we're looking at currently right now. Some of the questions that you need to ponder, okay, and we need to find acceptable answers by the end of the session, is how important we are in the B2B world, okay, and what are the challenges the business are facing delivering great customer experience to the business customers, and finally, how can CX be delivered despite all these challenges that we have on the face of it. I think we need to understand all this with nuances in order to have an enhanced CX. So if you look at this particular star, okay, the data points for you to consider. As per the Harvard Business Review, the cost of acquiring a new customer is to the tune of 5x to 25x of retaining existing customers. If I give you an idea of IT landscape, normally the area where I come from, at least 85 to 90% of the business comes from existing customers. And despite all the investment, all the marketing, everything we do under the sun, we only get new logos around 10 to 15%. So 85% is so much skewed, and we need to focus on to retain them and grow their business. The improving customer retention is just 5% increases profit between 25% and 95%. And 86% of the customers are willing to pay more for superior customer experience. And out of this, 30 to 50% of the customers will increase purchase frequency if they receive a greater CX. And finally, what Forrester has predicted over a period of 5 years, that companies who are focused on CX delivered a CAGR of 17%, while others just delivered a 7%, a 3%. So you can imagine the difference that is coming on the CAGR if company is not focused or aligned towards customer experience. If you look at the changing landscape of CX in the B2B, we have seen that on average, B2B has an average customer experience of less than 50%, far lower than around 65 to 80% compared to B2C companies. Again, a Forrester study has predicted that 9% of the companies feel that they created a super customer experience to their competitors, and only 9%. And this represents a huge competitive opportunity for others to come in. The B2B customers are also individuals, and hence the superior CX in the B2C space is what they want to replicate in the B2B experience. 80% of the B2B buyers now expect, not wish, but expect the same buying experience as B2C customers, and which is rightfully so. Meanwhile, a quarter wants to check out that and deliver speed when they enjoy the B2C buying experience and replicate there into B2B experience. So these are the things that we need to understand the changing landscape of CX in B2B when they compare with what's happening in the B2C space. There is rarely one buyer. The average B2B transactions involves over 5 buyers. And the customer experience for each of these people can affect their likelihood to promote or block a sale, greatly increasing the complexity in the overall relationship. So the buyer and the end user are usually different people. The procurement officer is rarely the end user of the products and services they procure. The buyer and the user have very little personal connection beyond organized feedback about the product and services. And this buying process is so clinical, the drivers are very, very different compared to a B2C. So people in the B2B space have to clearly mark out that their entire strategy, their entire mapping, etc., are very different compared to a B2C. Okay, and they need to be very, very thorough in their approach and their methodology, how they go about doing this. In this B2B, the group of buyers usually has specific roles assigned to each person in the group. The accounting controls budget. The operations controls fulfillment. The IT does the integration. The C-suite makes the final decision. And the challenge for the supplier company is to present a holistic brand across all these touch points and channels. But they do it in a way that is relevant for each player. For these reasons, the B2B customer journeys tend to look at several parallel streams connecting for key decisions or use cases rather than a simple path to purchase. The B2B relationships involves long-term service agreements, subscription services, upgrades, or continuous supply of consumables. If not, then B2B customers are still viewed as accounts to be nurtured. In some cases, if you look at it, the good overall experience can overcome a mediocre product, and a poor experience can erode the advantages of a superior product. And this, as I said before, this typically extends well beyond the time of purchase. So the journey actually starts from there, and the CMOs and the marketing leaders need to focus beyond the point of purchase till the customer is with us and serves as an advocate and as a champion in the ecosystem. Let's look at a use case for you to understand this better. Well, FedEx is available to individual consumers and customers. The company profits mostly from its B2B revenue, delivering shipments for hundreds and thousands of businesses every day. Around 2 years back, it was 12th place for the most financially successful B2B companies in the world. The company did not make this by accident. It is committed to customer experience, transparency, and very open communication. And one of the best ways any company can communicate with its customers is to close the loop or follow up with the customers to resolve issues, give support, and respond to feedback. According to a survey, companies that close the loop within 48 hours and 2 weeks sees a minimum of 5.5 increase in customer retention. This is a significant statistics given that for 85% of increased retention, companies increase their profit by a whopping 25%. And one of the key things that also comes in very handy in customer experience is the communication, both internal and external communication. And this is also one area where companies falter because they do not put that value behind communications. Having said all this, let's go to the crux. The crux is technology. Technology is such a critical component for all CX activities. You just read the top 5 emerging technologies as per Gartner. And companies, many of those companies who really have a focus on customer experience, they have now embraced experience data platforms where you get a 360-degree view of the customer's experience and the sentiment with your brand. So the technology is such deeply embedded that without technology, you cannot talk about enhanced superior CX. You really need to embrace and ensure that the technology is like a fabric that runs across the length and breadth of your organization. If I look at the EDP, and this is very critical, that's why I put a reference slide. It's actually classified into 3 bins. Okay, the first one is engage, which is talking about the data ingestion, which is talking about solicited and unsolicited feedback. The operational data and observed behavior. Okay, operational data can come from CRM, ERP, or POS, and the observed behavior can be across the IoT signals that comes in, or visit patterns, or events. The second bin is what you do with it, and that is where the AI and the machine learning analytics comes in. You advanced data analytics, which helps in the play of AI, ML, and NLP, and gives you the desired outcome on which you need to act. In fact, AI is so critical that people have talked about the future of CX. Sorry for that. The AI is so critical in today's world that people are talking about the future of CX is deeply embedded in AI. Now, AI is basically the fulcrum on which everything revolves around. And the last one is the real-time action dashboards for the frontline executives as well for the C-suites. Here, the thing to note is the data that is generated because of the AI enable, you segregate the data depending on the different executives. The CEO would receive a separate set of data, which is very different from a frontline sales manager. And that also comes with analytics and the way you set it across for people to act and based on what has been already analyzed, and so that you can take to the market and do the corrective actions. So if I want to summarize the technology play, okay, it's coming across in 4 key areas. The customer engagement, which comes to social surveys and the conversations that's happening. Second is the experience, the system of records that we need to have, the profile of the customer, the segments, the journey analytics. Third is the employee engagement. Okay, And this is very, very important because I'll cover that subsequently, how EX is very well integrated with CX. Okay, you cannot afford to leave out the EX part of it. And lastly, as I talked about AI, the fulcrum of everything that revolves around, it helps you in predictive analytics, helps you in the next course of action, it helps you in terms of targeting and getting to the root cause of where you feel the things are not well aligned and you need to break it. I spoke about EX and I spoke about why this is very, very critical. What about the experience of those who keep the business in business? Your employees. They're the one who are running the show. In fact, your customer experience actually begins from the inside out with your employees. Again, an area where I've seen a lot of companies falter. Okay, they are so much focused and hell-bent on the CX that they do this without or neglecting the EX and at their own peril. Facing organizations put more focus on energy and the employee's experience, empowering them to work efficiently and very, very effectively. If you do not do so, they disengage and unhappy employees, drag down the morale, productivity, and even the bottom line. What will organizations do? To create a culture that empowers communication and enables collaboration. Celebrate and connect with the employees regularly. As we have seen earlier slides, we have seen the surveys that needs to be done to find out your CX and NPS exactly in the same way, or maybe in a much more pronounced way. You need to do the surveys to find out what's your eNPS score. What is your employee survey talking about? And this eNPS has a direct bearing on your NPS score. So you have to ensure that your employee experience is absolutely top class and your all the employees are highly motivated, charged. Okay. Now let's look at the super CX journey, which is very, very important. So if you're looking at planning and implementing a super CX journey in your organizations, this is very, very critical. CX has some challenges. Let us be very, very open and frank about it. But we need to find ways to overcome them. And let's look at the main pillars of CX in the B2B space, which is the commitment, relevance, transparency, responsiveness, proactiveness, evolution, and forecast. I'll cover that quickly, but at least you have an understanding of what the pillars I'm talking about. So when I'm talking about commitment and consistency, this is being enthusiastic about satisfying customers and making them feel valued. This is about providing an omni-channel experience. Customers interact with companies through multiple channels, often to solve the same problem. Are you providing the same amount of experience? Are you there in the same measures in the online, the physical stores, in your social media, etc.? Are you ensuring that it's absolutely seamless and of the same and high-class quality? Companies need to be absolutely aware of all these things. You only create online portals, smartphone apps, tablet apps that allow to collect information on customers and provide complete view of the entire customer activity. Not only do you get this, you need to analyze that as we discussed in the previous slides. And as I said before, the customer experience starts with employee experience. When they are engaged and empowered, they provide a better service for customers to go above and beyond and build the great experiences that we're talking about. The next pillar we're talking about is fulfillment and relevance. Again, understanding and delivering on customer needs, easier said and then done. Customer demands are frequently diverse and increasingly demanding. They want more customized stuff, more cost effective, quicker. Make sure the experience you offer to your customers is relevant with them. What do they need? What do they expect? How do they want to communicate, shop and interact with you? How do you want to access information? All these things need to be answered and companies need to have a strategy in place for that. And B2B companies are generally more successful when they gain an understanding of a specific customer's most pressing issues and needs from the outset. Determining that the problem is important enough for the customer will commit to a solution. And from their design solutions that will gain consistency across the customer's buying group. We do this very often. We find out what is the problem area. We find out what is the critical need in the industry. Then go back to the drawing board, design particular service or offerings that will actually address that particular problem. Okay, that's outside in them rather than working from inside out approach. The third pillar, seamless and transparency. Across virtually all B2B markets, a top driver of overall satisfaction and loyalty is the ease of doing business. Seamlessness is synonymous with simple, convenient, and hassle-free. Remove frictions such as order errors. Set the right expectations to avoid disappointments or nasty surprises. You have to build trust in each and every interaction. Acknowledge mistakes and be open about it and how you're handling them. Everyone makes mistakes. This is nothing to be shameful about making mistakes. But the point what the customers would like to know is whether you're acknowledging it and how quickly are you resolving it. Provide access to inventory levels, order statuses, and other changing information in real time whenever possible. And keep the promises you make. This is very, very important. If you've committed something, you've made a promise, by Joe, go all out and ensure that you keep that. Because customers do not forget such promises that are not kept. Let's look at responsiveness. 36% of the customers want efficiency in the purchase process. 43% want quick resolution to a problem, and 37% close speed and responsiveness. So the key things are timely response, delivery, and resolution. A game changer here could be to offer self-service that really works. And we have done that. I'll just give an example. So we are into an IT infrastructure service ICT business. Okay, and we have customers who spans across our data centers, our clouds, our networks, our security, our managed services, everyone. Obviously, any company typically across the globe would work across a fixed time. Okay, because of the 9 to 6, and maybe 5 or 6 days a week. What happened to the customers who want to interact with you beyond the business hours? What happened to customers who want to interact at the leisure time over the weekends? What do you do with them? You cannot say to them, we are closed and come back. That's not a superior customer experience we're talking about. They may not, register a complaint because your office is closed, but they will not take it lying down. Okay, they will look at someone who can offer them a 24/7. That is where the portals comes in. That is where you give these customers credentials. They can come in. They do not interact with any customer, any employee of the organizations. They can go into the portals. They have different widgets. You can find out what services they're using. They want to raise tickets. They can do that. They want to check the status of the devices or any particular service offerings. They want to add on or register for a new service offering. Everything they can do in the portal without any intervention of any employee or without adhering to the timelines when the business is open. This is what customer experience is all about. They love that. You're giving over the control and the reins to the customer, and this is frictionless customer experience. And by doing that, you're freeing up time of the employees to respond to issues that cannot be resolved through self-service. You're making a win-win scenario, and you're doing the employee experience issue also, giving them time and giving the customers what they want. Let's look at the next pillar, which is proactiveness and speed. Proactive companies are those capable of anticipating customer needs and desires that strive to resolve issues before fulfilling the customers or addressing the customer's pain. It is easier for companies to be proactive if they're good at fulfilling the customer needs and can foresee potential customer needs and pain points. And time is of greatest resource. As we become accustomed to getting everything faster, instant responses, real time updates, same day, and even next hour delivery, as we have been witnessing in our lives, they offer a very fast and efficient B2B customer journey. Is what we can help companies get ahead. So we are talking about in the B2B space also the different resolution times. And the fastest one I was seeing in some of the matrices was acknowledging and giving a feedback in less than 5 seconds. So the SLA is within 5 seconds, you have to acknowledge and go back to the customer and say, yes, we have received your stuff, we are working on it. That is what they need. The next pillar is evaluation. So continually seeking to improve the B2B customer experience, review it. There's nothing called a strategy which is set in stone. Everything has to be evolving, it's dynamic. Then customer needs, behaviors, and attitudes can change anytime, as can threats from competition and influences such as technology and legislation. We need to react. And the more receptive companies to evolution are those that are agile, open to applying design thinking and to the customer experience, which is for the reinvent we're talking about. And finally, those willing to reinvent how customers interact with the company to re-engineer and transform the customer journey, the redesign aspect. So it's an entire journey of review, react, reinvent, and redesign. You need to be in this group. It is not a static where you have implemented the strategy and you think everything is working fine. This is a continuous evolving journey. Sell experiences. There's a famous saying, customers do not buy products or services, they buy experiences. 70% of the customers are willing to spend more with companies that provide greater customer support and experience. And the average B2B customer uses 6 different channels. Yes, 6, such as in-person reps and e-commerce sites and talking on social media with their peers for the course of decision-making journey. So you need to be cognizant that they're not doing any one, but they're having at least 6 different channels. And it has been also, as per a study, 1/3 of the customers said they will stop doing business with the brand they love, even after one bad experience. It's a huge colossal loss, the amount of customer base that you build up. If something goes wrong, there's a threat of losing 1/3 of your customer base. Everyone will have sleepless nights. So in an experience economy, savvy B2B suppliers sell an experience and outcomes. They don't sell any products. And we need to be thinking of that on those lines. At the end of the day, if the experience doesn't better through their palette, we may have lost everything that we built up at the time. So if you're talking about a CX transformation, let's look at the 3 building blocks. Good CX aspiration delivers on company purpose and brand promise. Companies then translate that aspiration into an expected business value by defining specific changes in customer behavior they expect to see. While executives often successfully develop comprehensive CX transformation roadmaps, many fall into the trap of implemented business as usual programs to execute the need of the change. These companies create agile, cross-functional teams that have true ownership of their projects, deep technology expertise, and a culture of design thinking and continuous improvement. Leaders who have successfully implemented new experiences for their customers sustain the changes by building new capabilities. The greatest sustained impact in customer experience outcomes from bringing together the 3 building blocks. Customer experience is a competitive advantage in the new normal. Only by committing into a 3 building blocks of a CX transformation, companies can expect to emerge from a crisis with a sustainable advantage over their competitors. You need to understand these 3 building blocks are very, very paramount and critical to any business. So it's about how you transform the business, how you enable the transformation, and to build aspiration and purpose in order to kickstart the entire process. If I look at what McKinsey has predicted, they estimate that improvements in customer experience can reduce churn by 10 to 15%. Churn is one that I talked about, the sleepless nights that people have. Companies are grappling with the problem. No one has got a eureka solution to this. Increase the win rate by 20 to 40%. Phenomenal. Lower cost to serve by 50%. Increase CX scores by 10 to 15% and impact revenue growth by around 10%. All these are very, very, very critical for any business leader. Your eyes will pop out when you look at these particular statistics. What improved CX can do, enhanced CX can do, and why CX is so critical in today's business. Let's look at what companies are doing. So as I said, it's not only ending with just getting the customer or making the customer brand and look at. It is beyond that. Companies are looking at how to make the customers be a part of their journey, how to make the customers, along with the customers, create co-innovation labs, where you basically have an effective measure for better guide for clients and prospects, to foster collaboration and co-optation, to engage the trends better. In one of my previous IT companies that I've worked, and it was, I won't name the company, we were working with a major telecom provider in Europe. And the relationship went down to such deep levels that we were on the board of that particular customer. We were there deciding and chalking out the strategy for that customer, where he needs to spend his money, which are the areas he needs to go in, which markets he needs to go in. So it was no longer a vendor or a provider relationship. We were deeply embedded in the strategy. Okay, that is where you work with the customer in such a way. And one of the advantages of this is that you retain the customer for good. There's no question of churn coming in because you are now an integral part of the customer's journey. That's one of the positive side effects of this. The other thing that comes out is a customer advisory board. 2 companies are already doing this, and this is what the future is going to be. Where you work with the customers and you form a particular advisory board. You discuss about issues which are topical. You talk about issues that are around the corner. You do a crystal ball raising. You find out what is going to be the trend, what is going to be any of the potential danger marks around 2 to 3 years, 5 years down the line. What are the steps we need to take, all that. So here also customers come in and discuss. It's a forum where they share their experiences. People share their knowledge about what the future is going to be, and they take corrective measures. Though business is not at all spoken in this, it has been seen that it results in a bit of sales to the provider. And the other benefit that comes out of this is the innovation, the loyalty, the market intelligence and market research, because you are getting it right from the grassroots. You're getting from the customers. They're talking about what's happening in the marketplace. They're giving you a sniff of what's going to happen 3 to 5 years down the line. So this is also very well embedded in the strategy of our companies, where CX is so deeply embedded that they look at means of engaging with customers, be it you're talking about the co-innovation lab, be it in the customer advisory board. And one of the things that I also spoke about earlier is basically how you are going to create from customer advocacy to rainmakers. So basically, customer advocates are the ones who talk about your service and offerings in the marketplace. And the relationship you build up with them over the years finally transform into them being rainmakers. They are the ones who can guide you that which is the potential segment and area you need to be. They can guide you where they see a latent demand coming up in 1 or 2 years, and you take effective measures to prepare yourself for the latent demand. Now, if you're not deeply clued into all the signals and all this customer advocates, you will miss the bus. Because if you are reacting to it when everything has happened, you are way down the line to the people who have already taken steps to meet that particular demand head on. So that's why it's so critical of business to be always one step ahead rather than be a laggard and follow the mass. If I need to summarize this, it is the differentiator for business in years to come, as has been called out by Gartner. And the hyper-personalization is the key in terms of doing your upward and cross-selling in the business. You need to invest in the deeper CX engagement that I spoke about. You need to be deeply embedded across the fabric of the customer segment. Okay, you need to be ensuring that you are with them. You are part of the tribe. That's what companies need to do if they're looking at a future of CX, which is much more deeper, pronounced, and really effective. So that's in a nutshell. I have covered it. I know I have taken a bit more time. If there are any questions, I can happily answer right now, or I've given my coordinates below. I'm more than happy to connect and look at any of the issues or questions you have and be a part of the community. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Prasenjit, thank you so very much for this amazing insights on the CX generation that we are leading into. I think lesser said than done. The more we understand about the experience economy, the more we'll have to go deeper into it. So having heard you, I think it opens on a completely new dimension to think through on marketing strategies going forward for both the B2B organizations and the B2C organizations. That CX is so crucial. It's great that we all are here discussing the subject in depth, and we hope to come up with some really innovative ideas that can be further published and taken over to organizations globally. Should you have any more questions? I have a quick question which I think the audience would also want to know. Prasenjit, is there a starting point in this journey on the experience economy? Where and how does one start? Because I think where someone is in the mix and he wants to make a beginning, he or she, on the customer experience, the organization, how and when can they start the journey? Some quick dope on it.
The first thing, as charity begins at home, look inwards, take care of your employees. If the employees are your greatest assets, and this is a fundamental mistake companies don't do. Now, if your employees are taken care of, they will go all out to ensure a superior CX. Okay, half the battle is going to be won if you have an enhanced CX. And unfortunately, I'll give you some stats which are not very happy. I've seen companies who have got a very good CX, but when they do and go to NPS, I don't know how they got it, but when they did their eNPS score, which was poor and abysmally low. So it's like building your castle in the sand. You're not going to sustain and thrive for long if your eNPS score is very, very poor. So take care of your employees, make them your brand advocates. They will go out of the way to at least give you the head push and the catalyst that you need to drive your sales team.
That quite answers, I think so. The experience economy is driven by the employee experience economy primarily, till we then translate that into the customer experience at the core. Lovely. Any other questions we would want to hear from other participants and panelists? If we have any more questions from the audience. Honey, would you like
I had a question.
Sure.
So I understand customer experience. I do come from that space. I've been there for 15 years. But I wanted to ask you, Prasenjit, you've just shared obviously like a plethora of information. And I think it's very holistic in terms of where all customer experience can sit. But why haven't we seen a role called Chief of Customer Experience or a Chief Customer Experience Officer evolve in organizations as a horizontal and a vertical yet?
I would slightly tweak the question. I won't agree with we have not seen. We have seen in some organizations. Okay, and but no, it's like the curve. You have this early adopters, innovators, early majority, late majority. So companies like, unfortunately, I have worked in some companies with IT services firm, I won't name it. They had a customer experience officer at least 7 years back, 8 years back. Okay, but as I said, the mentality, the psyche of Indian companies mostly are that I need profit, I need my margins, okay, and to show to my stakeholders, go for your NPS score. How do they do it? Everyone knows, and then they close the chapter there. So this is not sustainable. This is not going to work in the long run. Okay, but at least a lot of companies are realizing this. This is not something where you can cover it up in a second. You really need to have deep, pronounced way of working with it. And that's why of late I have seen companies who are doing this ENPS and EX in a much greater measure.
Absolutely. Thank you for that answer. I'd love to connect with you.
Sure, my pleasure.
Okay, one question I also have, Prasenjit, for you. What do you think is the biggest challenge in future for CX? Because since we are seeing this space, obviously in India and definitely worldwide, there is a lot of transformation, lot of evolution happening in the space itself, how it is being integrated in the whole way organization are sustaining. So I just wanted to understand what is your perspective in the future as we're going further, what could be the biggest challenge? As of now, I see a lot of awareness has to build in, the frameworks has to get in the part of the organization. So what do you think? So definitely looking forward to your...
So I'll give you my perspective, which I see. So we have technology I talked about, we have AI, etc. We have doing the data analytics, etc. We have Medallion and all those platforms. But two things I see. One is, have we really made insights out of the data, okay, and really converted that into action? Okay, I see a gap there. Okay, we do till the not the last mile, but to one way before the last mile. Okay. So that is where I see things are still a gap and falling through the cracks. And the second one, which I feel is N is equal to 1. The hyper-personalization that we talk about is a buzzword, but have we gone down to the core? Okay, do we know each and every one? Okay, and cater to the needs? I think on slides where it's fine, but in business we are still far away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the reason. But definitely, congratulations to you for the wonderful and the holistic presentation. And it was definitely adding a lot of other perspectives. Thank you.
Rachna, I just want to add to what Hani asked as a question, and Prasenjit, you rightly said that the role does exist in a lot of different ways and shapes and in different names, and that's one of the reasons why we came up with the book. And the question is also addressed slightly in the book also that Hani posted. I think the biggest gap that we see is that leaders are confused how to define the role. They all have their CX raw materials available, but when they want to place a person out there as a CX person, they don't know how to define it because they're so confused. So what we have seen in our personal experiences, a senior marketing person will be posted as a CX person, or a customer service head would be a customer success person. So there's, I think, a lot of confusion, and that's where we need the leadership to understand that customer experience is not just about applying technology. It's about understanding the nuances, basics, and then establishing this role. But Hani, it's a great question. We need to put, as CX community, we need to address this because it needs so much of focus and attention that you've got to have this as a vertical standing in the organization. But yes, very delicately and carefully addressed, because I think otherwise it can create a lot of confusion too, because it does overlap with different functions.
Absolutely. In fact, overlaps across. In fact, I'll just give one example to sum it up. So I was attending one seminar by Professor Ramcharan, and he gave this beautiful example. He says, in the airline industry, suppose you've decided to travel somewhere, okay? So the moment you decided to travel somewhere until the point you landed up, and if I look at the airline industry, do you guys know that there are 42 touch points? 42 touch points is like 42 links in the chain. Yeah. One of them snaps, the CX goes for a toss.
Absolutely.
So across the organization, everyone plays a role in the CX. Now to answer the question of Hani is, you cannot get one person who knows end to end of the organization. It's impossible. Okay, you take someone from sales and marketing, others in the delivery say, hey, you're not covering us. If you take a technical guy, he says, you don't understand this front part of it. So, it's difficult for that person alone to manage it. Everyone needs to contribute towards the better cause.
Absolutely agree.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. I think we are heading into some. Thank you, Prasenjit, for the wonderful insights and the presentation with great questions from our panelists. I think we are heading into really recrafting or maybe re-questioning the role of CX leader in our organizations, maybe the future organizations.